Good evening. Our top stories tonight: Damien Harris is a Buffalo Bill. Devin Singletary is a Houston Texan. Austin Ekeler does not want to be a Charger. Ronald Jones is a Cowboy. Dalton Schultz is a Texan. So much news, so many updates, and we're here to bring you it all on Player Profiler Today. Now, I would like to apologize for everyone that I am not live once again. We've got some work travels right now at the day job, and so I am here, but the show must go on. And so, hopefully, for the first time ever, my travel equipment actually works. Hopefully, this setup will work. You'll be able to hear me clearly. If not, let me know in the comments. But until then, until you are able to let me know in the comments, we got to talk about all of these backfields. These backfields are getting shaken the hell up in the NFL. First, we have Damien Harris. Damien Harris is going to be a Buffalo Bill. And really, he's an upgrade on Devin Singletary in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. Damien Harris, he's bigger. 5'10", 216 pounds. So he's got 12, 13-ish pounds on Devin Singletary. He's also got 5'7", 8, 9, 10, 3 inches on Devin Singletary. Damien Harris also has prototypical build and speed. It's not anything to write home about. 4.57, 62nd percentile speed score. That's fine. 62nd, that's good. But Devin Singletary, that's where the issue is. We all forget that Devin Singletary's success in the NFL so far is an outlier because running backs as small as Devin Singletary and as unathletic as Devin Singletary rarely succeed. Now, sure, sometimes you get a 5'7", 200-pound running back that does quite well. We've seen that happen in the past. But Maurice Jones-Drew, freaky athlete. Guys like that, they're always superb athletes with incredible blazing speed. Not Devin Singletary. Again, 5'7", 203 pounds, runs a 4.66. That is a 17th percentile speed score. Awful. Truly horrific numbers when it comes to testing. But that's why the Buffalo Bills got rid of Devin Singletary. He was fine. He did the trick for them for a number of years, but Damien Harris, he comes in, the bigger back with more explosive upside. I'm expecting to see a lot of Damien Harris on the goal line. Ish. Because the problem is the Bills don't use their running backs. They really don't. Devin Singletary never became a heavy workload guy. James Cook, never going to be a heavy workload guy. This is just something that doesn't happen in the Buffalo Bills offense with Josh Allen as mobile as he is, as willing to rush for first downs, as willing as he is to do QB sneaks. And most importantly, is the lack of checkdowns in this Buffalo Bills offense. Now, it does happen. It has happened in the past. And that is where Damien Harris really suffers in comparison to Devin Singletary. Because Damien Harris, no point in his NFL career has he caught over 20 passes in a season. In his entire career, Damien Harris has 40 receptions. Devin Singletary has a 40 reception season. This past season, when they were phasing him out of the passing game for James Cook, he caught 38 balls. So this is where the difference with Damien Harris versus Devin Singletary comes in. Damien Harris, bigger, stronger, faster, better on the goal line, more likely to score touchdowns than James Cook. But he is not a threat to siphon targets off from James Cook in the slightest. Not at all. 18 catches, a career high for Damien Harris? Really? That is what's going to save James Cook's value. And so, all things considered, because we knew the Buffalo Bills were going to add a bigger running back. We did. We knew that they needed a Zach Moss. They needed a replacement. They had to have that body type, and now they do in Damien Harris. And really, his inability to squeeze the football, to catch the ball, that is going to do good things for James Cook. So I'm interested to see where Cook falls in terms of his ADP post Damien Harris signing, because we knew that they were going to add a running back. It was impossible that the Bills went into the season with James Cook as RB1, Nyheim Hines as RB2, and Duke Johnson as RB3. That was never going to happen. So the fact that it's Damien Harris instead of David Montgomery, instead of Miles Sanders, instead of Zach Charbonnet, instead of Bijan Robinson, this is a good thing, all things considered, for James Cook. Obviously, in terms of the projections, it changes things for the negative, but we knew this was coming. And Damien Harris as the threat to James Cook, I can live with that. That is something that I can absolutely live with, tolerate, and still draft James Cook fairly early in drafts because he has the potential to catch a lot of passes. Another back that has no potential to catch a lot of passes and is worse than Damien Harris, worse than Devin Singletary, is Ronald Jones. I'm sorry, dude, but we're not even in on Ronald Jones, dude. We're not. Ronald Jones has reshaped his career. You got to tip your cap to him. You got to say that is impressive what you have accomplished, Ronald Jones. The fact that you were able to go from a smaller, speedier back, but not really that speedy. The fact that you turned from Ronald Jones at USC, the slasher, the Tevin Coleman type, to the between the tackles grinder that you are now. Hey, impressive, Ronald Jones. Real life NFL, fantastic work. But that doesn't score fantasy points, and that doesn't get me off of Tony Pollard. Now, of course, the Cowboys probably going to add a running back, but what if they don't? Because they do like Malik Davis. Malik Davis is still the RB2. Ronald Jones, he's RB3 right now. He has to beat out Malik Davis, but what if the season starts and Mike McCarthy is happy with his new Eddie Lacy in Ronald Jones? What if Tony Pollard only has to compete with short yardage touches being stolen from Ronald Jones? If that's the case, that is a good thing for Tony Pollard. His fantasy value is going to skyrocket. Now, I do expect they add someone, so beware. If you can capitalize on, I don't know what you'd even be capitalizing on now, because you'd be trading Tony Pollard away in hopes that people are, oh, see, it's just Ronald Jones. You got to buy Tony Pollard. But I don't want you to sell Tony Pollard because I still believe in him. So regardless, good thing for Tony Pollard. Ronald Jones, not a threat. Somehow the Cowboys managed to add one of the only running backs that would be a downgrade on Ezekiel Elliott. And they did. Wheels up on Tony Pollard. Congratulations, Tony Pollard. And best of luck to Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler, he does not want out of the Los Angeles Chargers. He is not over the team. He is not sick of them. He loves LA. But he doesn't love his contract. The fact that he is barely making over $6 million per year. The fact that he's making David Montgomery and Miles Sanders money, that is unacceptable for Austin Ekeler. He hopes that the Chargers can get it together, but he doesn't expect it. We'll see if another team is willing to pay Austin Ekeler, though, because he is past the age apex. He's getting up there. He is a smaller back. He has a history of hamstring injuries that admits changes his career, changes his explosiveness. So I will be interested to see where Austin Ekeler ends up, but I truly don't think there's a better spot for him than where he is right now with the Los Angeles Chargers. So I hope he stays. I hope he gets paid because every NFL player deserves every penny that they can make. But we'll see what the fallout is. I can just hope. And I can hope that the Philadelphia Eagles draft Bijan Robinson. And there's even more steam that this could happen. See, Bijan Robinson, we got a little sneak peek. Tried to combine those two words, sneak peek. We got a little peek inside of the draft process because we did not know officially what was going on. Bijan Robinson, he posted an Instagram story, Philadelphia skyline. Well, that gets you thinking just a little bit. There's a team in Philadelphia that plays football, and they're allowed to host running backs and other players for visits. So could it be that Bijan is visiting the Philadelphia Eagles, and then it turns out today that is true. That is confirmed. Bijan is visiting the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm torn on this because I would absolutely love for Bijan to be running behind that offensive line, to be utilizing the wide open rushing lanes that are created by Jalen Hurts and his ability to pull the ball and keep it himself. In terms of landing spot situation, Bijan to the Eagles, it would be a thing of beauty. But the Eagles would probably have to take Bijan at 10th overall. Now, there's a chance that he falls to them at 30th overall, but that feels less likely. And using a top 10 pick at running back is suboptimal. It is less than ideal. And I understand that Bijan is a generational talent, but so was Saquon. So was Jonathan Taylor. Saquon, he was drafted too high. We all know that. Jonathan Taylor, he was drafted too low. We all know that. Where does the pendulum swing? How does the NFL course correct with Bijan Robinson? I can't answer that, but I can tell you wherever Bijan goes, he is an RB1 from day one. He's going to be going in the first round after the draft, and he's going to be going in the first round. I kind of hope it's not top 10. I hope that the Eagles don't spend that draft of capital, because why? Teams don't do that nowadays. Most of the time, teams will not draft a running back that early. They will not lock themselves into paying that running back above market value, because that's one of the problems with drafting a running back that high is when it comes time to the 5th-year option, you pick that up and they're no longer cheap. Really, they're no longer cheap the entire career, and that is the benefit of having a 2nd-round, 3rd-round running back is, hey, these guys are cheap. We get them in their best years. Not the case when you draft Saquon with the 2nd overall pick, 3rd overall pick, whatever it ended up being. I'm blanking now, but the NFL has learned. I don't know how much they've learned. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting one to follow along, but we'll also be following along with the Houston Texans, who are actually trying. For the first time ever, the Houston Texans are trying. Not the first time ever. They tried under Gary Kubiak. Bill O'Brien did his version of trying, but the last couple of years, it has been just a dumpster fire. And I don't want to say that Lovie Smith and David Culley weren't doing their jobs. They were. They elevated this roster, this talent-poor roster, to a couple wins. David Culley especially exceeded well above expectations. This is just a talent-poor roster, and we've seen it for years. We've seen it year after year that the signings they make, oh, well, no one's going to want to come here anyways because of the Deshaun Watson question. So we'll just get every team's 40th best player. And for a lot of the offseason, it felt like they were doing the exact same thing. Noah Brown as a signing? Didn't love that. Did not love that, but it was a cheap deal. It's not like they overpaid like Cedric Wilson, but really that's the move. Robert Woods for $7.5 million a year. That's the move you're going to make. You're not even treading water. You're drowning, Houston Texans. What's happening? But now we've started to see the moves roll in. They trade for Shaq Mason from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, get an instant upgrade at right guard, a stalwart there. He's going to be just rock solid. They re-sign left tackle Laramie Tunsil, just another great decision, sets them up for the next 3 years with prime pass protection from the left tackle. Then they go out and they add Dalton Schultz. And I have told everyone that will listen that Dalton Schultz, he's going to end up being the next Austin Hooper in fantasy. But he's not the next Austin Hooper in terms of pay. No, Austin Hooper, we all remember he got a big contract with the Cleveland Browns when he moved on from the Atlanta Falcons. Dalton Schultz, while he had an offer, and I don't know if it was from the Cowboys or another team, but Dalton Schultz at one time had a 3-year offer that would have paid him over $33 million, over $11 million per year. And he turned it down. Dalton Schultz bet on himself, and that bet turned out poorly. Instead of the 3 years, $33 million plus deal for Dalton Schultz, he now settles for a $6 million deal with the Houston Texans. It's a bargain for the Texans. It is a steal for the Houston Texans, but for Dalton Schultz, you got to feel for him. He can earn up to $9 million, which is less than he would have been making per year. And so while I do hope for his sake that he is able to show out, that Dalton Schultz is able to help elevate things for rookie QB1, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's CJ Stroud, whether it's Anthony Richardson, whoever it is, I hope Dalton Schultz can offer a safety blanket for that quarterback. And I think he will. I think he'll have a solid season, just not spectacular. Because most of these tight ends, they're solid. They're not spectacular. And that's why Travis Kelce is so valuable in fantasy football. But it wasn't just the Dalton Schultz move that the Houston Texans made. No, they also went out and signed Devin Singletary, the guy who got replaced by Damien Harris, to a great contract. Not even $4 million for a one-year deal for Devin Singletary. You get a veteran presence there to help Dameon Pierce evolve into the NFL, become a true professional. And you also get a solid rotational player. You get someone that can do it all. He can't do it all in any special capacity. He's not going to be ripping 60-yard runs. He's not going to be breaking a bunch of tackles. But Devin Singletary, he is just good enough. He is just solid enough that I love this signing. The Houston Texans, instead of bringing in Marlon Mack to just not exist and they cut him before opening day, instead of Rex Burkhead, no, you go get Devin Singletary, a solid running back, a cheap running back. This is a good deal for the Houston Texans. Who would have thought that I would be singing the praises of the Texans, that I would be hyping up Nick Caserio, the general manager of the Houston Texans, for making solid moves? And I still don't believe in Nick Caserio, but hey, at least he's doing some solid things. The Brandon Cooks trade was a necessity. He didn't get very much out of it, but that's okay. Some solid signings with Dalton Schultz, Devin Singletary, couple more solid signings, and this team, it's going to at least be competitive as long as they nail it with the second overall pick. And if they take Bryce Young, then I don't think they're going to do that. But hey, at least the Texans aren't just openly tanking anymore. At least the Houston Texans aren't saying, well, yeah, we suck and we're going to suck, so why bother trying? Not the case under DeMeco Ryans. So, hey, congrats, Texans. You deserve it. All the long-suffering Texans fans deserve DeMeco Ryans and all the good things that are coming their way. And looking at offense, there are some teams that deserve good things that might be getting something special in the near future. That, of course, could be Lamar Jackson. Now, the Indianapolis Colts, they admit they have not ruled out Lamar Jackson trading for him, but they also haven't made any offers. Lamar Jackson has received no contract offers from the Indianapolis Colts, no phone calls. They're not negotiating right now, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, because the Colts, they pick at fourth. They might luck into Anthony Richardson or Will Levis with the fourth overall pick. So if they want to stay pat, I kind of understand that. But it is also Lamar Jackson. You know how much I want Lamar Jackson to get paid. You know how game-breaking of a talent he is. So it's just curious that they haven't opened that door yet, but haven't shut it either. The Lamar Jackson saga, it just continues to drag on. And I'm really excited to see that interview with Lamar Jackson that he has set up. I want to see where he goes with it, what his intentions are. We'll have more news then. We'll bring you all sorts of updates from that interview. But in the meantime, it's been pretty, lips are sealed for Lamar Jackson and everyone else negotiating. The NFL, not about Lamar Jackson and his fully guaranteed contract demands. We'll see if we get any updates on that, any evolution. And we'll see if we get any movement on Cam Newton as well, because Cam Newton is going to be throwing at the Auburn Pro Day. I think it's this week. Is it today? Was it today? Either way, Cam Newton. Cam Newton does not believe there are 32 NFL quarterbacks that are better than he is. Cam Newton also believes that he should still be a starter, if that's the case. If there are not 32 teams that have a quarterback better than him, then he believes he should be QB1 for one of those teams. And I just don't know about that. See, I get hyped when I was so excited when Cam Newton returned to the Carolina Panthers. That was so much fun. I enjoyed Cam Newton, the New England Patriot. It was fun. The rushing attack that Josh McDaniels was able to install with him, that was great, but the arm wasn't there. And then he goes to the Panthers and the arm just, it's not there. I know he's cleaned up his shoulder. He's worked on it. He's rehabbed. I believe he had shoulder surgery as well. Maybe that's fixed things for Cam Newton, but the last we saw Cam Newton, he's not a top 32 quarterback anymore. I would rather have Sam Howell. I'd rather have Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder. And that sucks to admit because I am a Cam Newton fan. I love the guy. He is just pure magic, pure electricity, pure excitement. But it's time to admit, if I don't have the shoulder that I once had, if I don't have the arm, the cannon, the rocket to just hum balls in there, then I can't do what's necessary. I can still play in the NFL. I can be a backup quarterback. I can come in on short yardage. Like, you can have packages for me like Taysom Hill. But I don't know if Cam Newton's going to be willing to do that. And so until that happens, I just don't see Cam Newton ending up on a roster. One fun story with Cam Newton throwing, though, at the Auburn Pro Day, going to be throwing to Kalen Newton, his little brother, star wide receiver for William and Mary. And they'll be working together. Cam Newton throwing to his younger brother. Hey, gotta love those family connections, and gotta love that the DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors are reportedly heating up. Now, I say reportedly because we don't actually know what's happening behind the scenes and what heating up means for DeAndre Hopkins. But as free agency continues to trickle on, as Brandon Cooks is traded for, as there are less and less options out there for teams to sign, the DeAndre Hopkins trade window becomes, I don't know if it's the window, but it becomes more likely that they trade. If DeAndre Hopkins wants out, teams want DeAndre Hopkins, one of which is the New England Patriots. The Patriots are in on DeAndre Hopkins, and that's a tricky situation because we all know that Bill O'Brien did not get along with DeAndre Hopkins. He said some disparaging things, apparently, about DeAndre Hopkins having his baby mama around the building, and Hopkins took issue with that, and that led to the trade. That we all remember, the second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Just incredible that trade happened. I still can't believe it. Basically, a second for DeAndre Hopkins, and also we're going to give up a fourth for David Johnson. Whew! Terrible by the Houston Texans. Bill O'Brien messed that one up bad, but he's got a chance to redeem himself. If he can, I don't know if he's allowed, he probably isn't allowed to contact DeAndre Hopkins unless the Cardinals have given permission to seek a trade, and I believe they have. Now I'm confusing myself, but if I'm Bill O'Brien, I am sending a message, I'm calling, I am relaying this through someone else that, DeAndre, I am sorry for my past behavior. I have grown up, and I will not be a whiny little baby anymore. I will just allow you to live your life. So please come play with me in New England. And wouldn't that be fun? Bill Belichick, DeAndre Hopkins, Mac Jones finally has an alpha on the outside. Whew, that could be spicy. One of the teams we know aren't interested in DeAndre Hopkins, at least by all accounts, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, according to Josina Anderson, not in on DeAndre Hopkins, but instead, their eyes firmly set. They have their eyes firmly set on Jerry Jeudy. The Cleveland Browns want Jerry Jeudy. Who'd have thought that? Who would have expected that Jerry Jeudy to the Cleveland Browns would be that desirable when DeAndre Hopkins, they just want a second for him, but the Broncos want a first plus for Jerry Jeudy? As the NFL offseason turns, as all of this news comes in, okay, whatever you say, NFL reporters, I'm just here to absorb the news. I'm just here to relay it to you, but just some interesting rumors, interesting signings, interesting futures that we're looking at. But then there's the not so interesting, and it's a little interesting. It's interesting in a strange way. It's interesting in a way that says, what the hell are you doing, Baltimore Ravens? Because yes, the Baltimore Ravens, they have had a wide receiver in for a visit. And now there's a chance they trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They haven't ruled that out yet. There's a chance that they make up with Lamar Jackson, though I'm pretty much ruling that out. And the Ravens, with all this going on, with no answer at quarterback, with no hope of reaching a deal with Lamar Jackson, they've gone out and said, hey, Nelson Agholor, why don't you come visit? We think that you could be our new Demarcus Robinson. We can force you to be our wide receiver one. just the most Baltimore Ravens signing of all time if Nelson Agholor does end up there. Just what are we doing? What are we doing? Why? Why do the Baltimore Ravens just circle back and circle back and circle back, retread after retread after retread? Hey, Demarcus Robinson, he was successful for us. Let's find the new Demarcus Robinson. Let's add another veteran wide receiver that we know isn't going to work out. Let's just keep going down that route. Let's overpay. I'm surprised they didn't add Robert Woods, to be honest. Ravens, week after week, year after year, continue to disappoint me, and I might be giving up on the Baltimore Ravens in short order. They got to do something to make this right. They got to get Lamar Jackson back. They got to get a rookie quarterback. They got to do something that isn't just status quo. Continuing with some signings across the NFL, just wrapping up the little news notes that we've got here. Mac Hollins goes to the Atlanta Falcons. They now have a 6'6" tight end, a 6'4" receiver, another 6'4" receiver, and a 6'3" tight end. Kyle Pitts, 6'6", Drake London and Mac Hollins, both 6'4", and Jonnu Smith, 6'3". The Falcons are just building a basketball team. They just want to be able to bully you. They want guys who can block, something Mac Hollins is great at. They just want these big body pass catchers just putting people in the dirt, and Arthur Smith just going to run the ball over and over and over again. But this is a signing that the Falcons needed. The fact that Frank Darby was the wide receiver 2 for the Falcons could not stand Mac Hollins. Great signing by the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they can accent that by, I don't know, adding Lamar Jackson, but probably not. Anyway, speaking of the Raiders, where Mac Hollins came from, the Raiders add a tight end. They found their replacement for Darren Waller, and it's not Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper is visiting, so it could be Austin Hooper, or he could be the new Foster Moreau, while O.J. Howard is the new Darren Waller. I've said this before, but what is the direction of the Raiders? What is the future of the Raiders? What are the Raiders doing? You're going to go into the season with O.J. Howard and Austin Hooper as your tight ends? I mean, fine, but did you really have to get rid of Darren Waller? What's going on with Hunter Renfrow? Who is going to stretch the field? Because Devontae Adams, he's the closest thing you have to a field stretcher. Jacoby Myers is going to be running short, intermediate routes over the middle, slot receiver. Hunter Renfrow going to be doing the exact same thing. O.J. Howard, I guess he can stretch the seam a little bit, but he's a far cry from the athlete he was in his youth. He's gotten up there. He's going to be more of a short safety blanket. And Austin Hooper, I don't know if he's less athletic than Hunter Renfrow, but it's got to be close. Either way, the Raiders are just going all in on a dink and dunk and short passing game offense where no one has any speed and no one can stretch the field. Raiders setting themselves up for failure. A lot of teams setting themselves up for failure, but the Raiders, probably the most directionless team in the NFL, if I had to say at this point. And I'm just hoping beyond hope that they trade up for Anthony Richardson to get some sort of future in place.